Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be digging into Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft one more time, having a look at the subclass of the Warlock that's hiding within, the Undead Warlock. Now you may be thinking, wait a sec, didn't we go over this already in the Undying Warlock? No, we didn't. The Undying Warlock was in the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and was a sorry excuse for a subclass. Genuinely, it wasn't that great. The Undead Warlock, because it's a different name, technically it's a different subclass, but if I had to guess, I would think the Undead Warlock was intended to replace the Undying Warlock, because both of them kind of go down this idea that some undead creature is your patron, whether it is a mummy lord or a lich or a Draco lich or some sort of undead creature with a lot of magical power. Now, the Undead Warlock does have some features that the Undying Warlock didn't. So let's dig into the Undead Warlock and really see if they corrected their mistake. Before we begin, though, I would like to point out that this channel has memberships. For just $1 a month, you guys can join Relaxed Fantasy Review. You get little badges next to your name in the comments, as well as my undying gratitude. It's just $1 a month. Doing so supports me here on YouTube and lets me keep doing what I'm doing here. So thank you all for watching and supporting me on YouTube. Now, Warlock subclasses have expanded spell lists. These expanded spell lists are not automatically added to your list like a cleric's would, but simply they are just added to your choices. So I don't put a whole lot of weight on the spell list, but we still have a look at them. In this case, you've got False Life and Bane. You've got yourself the reasonably powerful Cloud Kill later on, as well as Anti-Life Shell. The whole vibe of this one definitely is necrotic and undead sort of energies. There's some good ones in here, some not so good ones in here. I say 6 out of 10 for the expanded spell list. Then, right at level 1, you get the main power from this subclass, the Form of Dread. You can do this proficiency bonus times per day, and you use a bonus action to transform yourself. You gain temporary HP, you gain immunity to fear, and once per turn, when you attack a creature, you can make them force them to make a save, and if they fail it, they are frightened of you. So you just gain this fear effect, fear immunity, and a little more tankiness. These powers last for a minute, so it's definitely a combat-focused ability, but it's a good combat-focused ability. So yeah, immunity to fear is no joke, and causing fear and getting temp HP also very solid. I say 9 out of 10 for the Form of Dread. And a lot of other abilities as we keep going lean into the Form of Dread, you'll see. At level 6, for example, you get the Grave Touched power. Once per turn, so this isn't a limited use thing, this is just a once per turn thing. When you attack a creature and deal damage, you can replace all the damage you do and make it necrotic damage instead. But while you're in the Form of Dread ability, while you're using Form of Dread, you can also roll an additional damage die on the damage you make necrotic. Now this is interesting because what this means is that if you're fighting with something that uses high damage dice, like you're using a longsword in a two-handed form, or you're shooting Eldritch Blasts, for example, or you're using a Great Axe. Basically, you're not using D6s or D8s, you're using D10s and D12s to attack. That makes this ability more powerful, and since the Warlock loves Eldritch Blast, this means that when you deal Eldritch Blast, one of your beams is going to be doing necrotic damage, and it's going to do 2d10 instead of 1d10. And there's no limit to this. Like, as long as you're in Form of Dread, you can do this. And that's awesome. You also lose the need to eat or drink or breathe. You still need to sleep. So, yeah, this is solid extra damage on basically every turn. And no need to breathe, so you can breathe underwater, no need to eat or drink. Very, very good stuff. Another 9 out of 10 for this one. Now, at level 10, you get the power Necrotic Husk. When you get this, you become resistant to necrotic damage, so you just automatically gain that. Now, necrotic damage isn't the most common in the game, but you do see it relatively often, especially if you're fighting undead creatures. When you're in your form of dread, however, you gain immunity to necrotic damage, and that's huge. Immunity to anything is big in D&D, but by this level, your proficiency bonus is up there. It's at 4. So you can 4 times per long rest, just bonus action, gain immunity to damage, while also boosting your own damage. The other thing that you get from this power is that if you drop to 0 hit points, you can instead drop to 1 hit point, and you deal an area of effect damage to anyone who tried to kill you. It's 2d10 plus your Warlock level, so it's a little AoE boom that happens when you drop to 0 hit points. Instead, you drop to 1. You also gain a level of exhaustion when you do this, and you can't do it for another 1d4 days, so it's not a once per day thing, it's a once every couple day thing. But when you combine damage resistance / immunity with a get out of jail free card that is not the best one I've seen in the game, but it's still a get out of jail free card. It keeps you from dying. I think you've got yourself a real powerful set of abilities here at level 10. So I'm going to give this 9 out of 10 again for just being very versatile in the sense that you're resisting, you're immune, and if you do still go down, you'll be okay at least once in a while. But then at level 14, we get the ultimate going ghost power, Spirit Projection. As an action, you can take your spirit form and have it leave your physical form. Your physical form then goes unconscious, and your spirit form you control. While in spirit form, you are resistant to damage, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. You also can cast spells that are necrotic spells without using verbal or somatic components or material components unless they have a cost. So you just have permanent subtle spell, effectively. You gain a flying speed, so you can just float around like a ghost, and you can even move through objects and creatures, although you can't end your turn inside them, so you are partially incorporeal or partially intangible. And when you take your form of dread, you then, so when your spirit form and form of dread, you can regain hit points. Every time you deal necrotic damage to a creature, you regain a hit points equal to half the damage you dealt. So you get flying, you get damage resistance, you get health recovery, you get intangibility, and you get permanent subtle spell. You can do this once per day, but it lasts for like an hour. Like, it lasts for a while. So you can do this, and then your body, weirdly enough, also gains resistance to the damage, so you can just leave it in a safe place, and then go in as a spirit. And you can just go. Now, the downside to this, there is one downside, and that is that you have to concentrate on it. So you can't concentrate on other spells, otherwise your spirit form will go back to your body. But that's the interesting thing, is that because this spirit form can go off without your body, this is actually a really fun way to scout through an area without actually being in real danger. Because you're resistant to damage, you can recover damage, you can move through walls, you can move through creatures, you can fly, and if you do get in trouble, like you're in a bad way and you're about to go down, just drop your concentration which doesn't take an action. You can do it at any moment, even on another creature's turn, and then your spirit will just go back to your body. So all that stuff you did as you moved through, suddenly, yeah. So is this worth your concentration? Absolutely, this is worth your concentration. This is the sort of thing I'd be doing in every dungeon. I'd be doing this every day. I would be, when I'm about to enter a dangerous location, I'm like, all right, let me just hide my body somewhere real quick. Okay, now let me go and check everything out, wipe some enemies out, and if I'm about to go down, I'll just go back to my body and let the party know, okay, I'm on a short rest. You guys go in there and finish up. Here's what I saw. This is amazing. This is 10 out of 10, and it is 100% the reason I would go Undead Warlock and take it all the way to the end. All in all, Undead Warlock 9 out of 10. Very solid subclass with some cool damage boosting, some cool temporary hit points, health regeneration, damage resistance, and immunity. And the form of Dread just keeps building on itself. It goes from temp hit points and a fear effect to extra damage to health recovery, and then all the way up to being able to empower your spirit form. Like, everything here is good. Everything is good, and it just keeps getting better as you go. So the Undead Warlock, solid recovery from the Undying Warlock that was just not worth your time. If you want to play a cool zombie-related Warlock, this book is your ticket to that. Ignore that other subclass in the Sword Coasts and go for this one. You will not be disappointed. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for that join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.